This Rosedale walk is an 8-mile circular route through the North York Moors. Along the way I follow quiet paths, take in wide views across the moorland and past the remains of the ironstone mines that once shaped this beautiful valley. This is the village green in Rosedale Abbey, where I start my walk. Once a quiet hamlet, the village grew in the 1830s with the building of the church, mill and stone bridges. From the green I step through a gate into the churchyard of St Mary and St Lawrence. The church is part of the benefice of Lastingham, linked with 4 other parishes in the area. I walk past the eastern end of the church, built in 1839 in the Gothic Revival style. Tall lancet windows and yew trees give the place a strong sense of tradition. The stone path curves around the northern end, where the sandstone varies from pale beige to deep ochre. Ashlar dressings pick out the windows and corners against the rougher blocks. The church stands on the site of a 12th century Cistercian priory, home to a small community of nuns. They were among the first to farm sheep commercially on this region. On the remaining staircase turret, a plaque records the priory's history from around 1158 to its closure in 1535. It is the last tangible link to medieval Rosedale. I follow the path to the western gates and step out of the churchyard. Across the road, an iron gate in the wall marks the continuation of my walk. Leaving the village, I pass through the caravan park and follow a public footpath northwest. It leads into woodland on the way to Duncar Bridge. The path drops to the River Severn, which rises on the high moorland near Rosedale Head. It meanders through the middle of the valley. Flowing south through Rosedale Abbey, the river eventually joins the Rye near Malton. It supported both industry and everyday life during the ironstone mining years. As I continue, I come across a piebald cob with a strong build and feathered legs. These calm, versatile horses were valued for farm work and cart pulling. In the same field I see a Shetland pony, small and hardy. They have long been used for work and as children's riding ponies. My route takes me through Low Bell End Farm, which offers camping and glamping, farm produce and crafts. There are even options like shooting let days and fishing. Continuing along Daleside Road, I pass plane tree cottages on the left. The lane is quiet and edged by stone walls. A little further on, a neat row of terraced cottages stands at School Row on the right. Their plain fronts reflect the Dale's working history. Opposite, the village hall has a bench and a smaller plaque. It commemorates 3 local people who fell in the Second World War, 1939 to 1945. A larger plaque lists those who died in the Great War, 1914 to 1918. Their names are preserved in stone. I continue along Daleside Road past hill cottages, with terraces on both sides. The scale hints at the Dale's growth during the mining era. Just after hill cottages I turn onto a rising stone track. A concrete bench at the junction is inscribed in memory of John Henry Dent, a true friend of the Dale. I pass the stone kilns of the East Mines, once the centre of a vast industrial complex. The mines began operating in the 1860s, with a branch railway to Blakey Junction. Here ironstone was calcined, raked hot by workers and loaded into iron wagons. It was tough, dirty and demanding work. Today the weathered ruins remain as stark reminders of that environment. Smoke, heat and constant noise once filled this hillside. I follow the disused railway north between the stone kilns and the iron kilns, on the eastern side of the valley. This elevated line once carried loaded wagons out of Rosedale. The iron kilns, also called the North Kilns, appear ahead. Built in the later 19th century, each had large firebrick-lined compartments for calcining ironstone. The kilns still stand, with 3 compartments remaining and red calcined waste heaps marking the slope. They show the scale of operations that continued into the 1920s. Just beyond is a seating area with 2 benches and a sturdy wooden table. It is a good place to pause for a coffee. The table holds 4 information boards and a cast iron model of the kilns. Together they explain how the site operated. Continuing north along the railway, I take a final look back at the iron kilns. Their size and position dominate this part of the Dale. These are the remains of the Black Houses cottages, north of the iron kilns. They were weatherproofed with black tar, which gave them their name. I carry on along the elevated route on the eastern side of the valley. The High Line gives long views across Rosedale. From here I can make out a patchwork of fields, bracken and woodland. The valley floor spreads out below in irregular shapes. A large railway embankment comes into view, with woodland to the left. I know I am close to the point where I leave the track for Daleside Farm. A sign clearly points the way downhill to Daleside Farm Tea Garden. It confirms the turn. The path descends from the railway, skirting the northwestern edge of the trees. It is a steady way down. The descending path winds through a tunnel of trees, their trunks moss-covered. It guides me gently towards the valley floor. The descent then steepens, with trees lining a narrow path and a canopy overhead. It is one of the highlights of the walk. I arrive at Daleside Farm Tea Garden. Since 2010, it has welcomed walkers with sandwiches, cakes, loose-leaf teas, tailors of Harrogate coffee and homemade drinks. There are spacious outdoor tables and the shelter of a shooting butt if the wind picks up. In colder weather, a covered seating area with a wood-burning stove, seats around 40. The menu celebrates Yorkshire recipes made with locally sourced ingredients. Homemade cakes are a particular favourite. The kitchen is busy with fresh baking, once sold at North Yorkshire farmers markets and now served here. For more information, visit dalesidefarmteagarden.co.uk. From Daleside, I follow a quiet lane to the valley floor and cross the River Severn. Nearby, a small waterfall drops over a dark rock face into the river, possibly ironstone. On Daleside Road, an old tree trunk makes a good resting spot for another coffee from my flask. The path can be muddy here but soon improves. Near High House Farm, the route firms from grass and mud into a more solid stone track. Underfoot it becomes easier going. I continue southeast past High Thorgill Farm and a few cottages. It is a peaceful section with open views across the dale. The hamlet of Thorgill appears, a small cluster of stone houses in the valley. From here there is just over a mile to go. Back in Rosedale Abbey I return through the church gates and follow the path round the church. It leads me back to the village green where I began. For full directions, route maps and more photos of this Rosedale walk, visit my website at paulbeale.com.